time I did it, I just kept telling myself, man, this is way too good. I could with this.
Tommy Lee is the definition of living life to the fullest. He's a rock star, a reality TV star, and a social media sensation. But his life hasn't been without its challenges. Ranging between crazy drum solos to even crazier relationships, Tommy Lee never fails to make headlines. You want to hear about his wildest moments. Let's get into it. Tommy Lee, majorly known as the wild and energetic drummer of Motley Crue, has lived a life that is as loud and chaotic as his music. He is known for his thunderous drumming, wild antics, and high-profile relationships. And through the years, his name has become synonymous with rock and roll excess. From his infamous onstage performances to his tumultuous personal life, there is never a dull moment with Tommy. Whether you know him from his epic drum solos or his exciting activities, one thing's for sure, and that is he is a rock legend who's always kept us on the edge of our seats. Now, before we dive deep into all the drama that clouds Lee, let's have a look at where it all started from, or more importantly, where the wild drummer birthed from. Childhood. Born Thomas Lee Bass on October 3rd, 1962, in Athens, Greece, his early years were a blend of beauty pageants and military discipline. His father, David Lee Thomas Bass, was a U.S. Army sergeant, and his mother, Vasiliki Vula Papadimitriou, was a contestant in the 1957 Miss Greece Beauty contest, which is quite a glamorous start for any kid. So when Lee was just 2 years old, the family packed up and moved to California, which later became the backdrop for his rock star dreams. By the time he was 4, he had already gotten his first pair of drumsticks, but it was not until he was a teenager that he got his first real drum kit, and that's when things really started to kick off. Lee's high school years were a bit unconventional as he dropped out to pursue his passion for music, which was a pretty bold move if one looks at it. But he was not just some kid with a dream, he had talent and a drive. His musical influences were legendary, and he idolized drumming legends like John Bonham and Alex Van Halen. Even in high school, Lee was already making a name for himself as he was a part of the marching band drum corps, which sharpened his skills and gave him that flair for showmanship, like twirling sticks and bouncing them off drums. His parents were incredibly supportive, and his dad even soundproofed the garage so Tommy could practice without driving the neighbors insane. Start of music career. Tommy Lee's entry into the music scene started with a bang when back in the 1970s he became a part of a band called Sweet 19, which regularly played on the Sunset Strip club circuit in Los Angeles. This was a hotbed of rising talent, with bands like Van Halen and Quiet Riot also performing out there. It was in this vibrant scene that Lee crossed paths with bassist Nikki Sixx, who was playing with bands Sister and later London. While Nikki Sixx was working on a new band concept that combined heavy metal with theatrical performances and drew inspiration from Sister's use of occult imagery, and was impressed with Lee's drumming skills and knew he needed him in the lineup. It was around this time that Tommy Lee dropped his surname and picked up the nickname T-Bone because of his towering 6 feet 2 inch and a half frame and lean build. When London broke up in 1981, it was the perfect opportunity for Lee and Sixx to join forces and create something new. They soon brought guitarist Mick Mars on board and were looking for the final piece of the puzzle in the form of a charismatic frontman. And Lee had just the guy in mind, Vince Neil. He was a singer he knew from high school, and with Neil's addition, Motley Crue was born, and the rest is history. And the best, is history. Motley Crue takes off. Tommy Lee was just 17 when he joined Motley Crue after he dropped out of high school to chase his rock star dreams, which was a decision that did not exactly thrill his parents. But it did not take long for Motley Crue to build a loyal fan base, and they released their debut album, Too Fast for Love, in 1981, on their own independent label Lether Records. The album sold an impressive 20,000 copies and spread like wildfire throughout the Los Angeles music scene and kickstarted a new glam metal movement. Elektra Records quickly saw the potential and signed the band and reissued the debut album in 1982. The following year, they released Shout at the Devil, which was their first major label album. With its hard-hitting anthems and quasi-satanic themes, Shout at the Devil went platinum and took the band to fame, which owed a large part to their heavy rotation on MTV. Throughout the 1980s, Motley Crue continued to dominate the rock scene with several best-selling albums, including Theater of Pain and Girls. Girls and toured the world by playing in large arenas and becoming notorious for their wild antics both on and off stage. Tommy Lee's drum solos were legendary and featured stunts like revolving and spinning drum kits and even floating above the crowd while he played. He was also known for mooning the audience at nearly every show. So the band's lifestyle was the stuff of rock and roll legend, which involved excessive partying, heavy drug use, and living on the edge. Tommy Lee and Nikki Sixx even earned the nickname Terror Twins for their outrageous behavior and relentless partying. After a few years of ups and downs, which included lineup changes and personal struggles, the original Motley Crue lineup reunited in 2004 and released the double-disc anthology album Red, White Crue, which went quadruple platinum. This reunion sparked the massive Red, White, and Crue tour in 2005, titled Better Live Than Dead, and made it their first tour in 6 years. The tour was a massive success, with the band playing 81 shows and grossing $33 million, which landed them at number 8 on Billboard's Top Concert Money Earners list for the year. Fans old and new flocked to see the legendary band in action and prove that Motley Crue's legacy was as strong as ever. Tommy Lee's solo career. The 1990s were a whirlwind for Tommy Lee and was marked by turbulent relationships and even some time behind bars. During his stint in prison, Lee did not just sit around idly. With pen and paper band, he got creative and used to leave song ideas on his home answering machine whenever he got his phone call privileges. These ideas later evolved into his first solo project, Methods of Mayhem. Formed in 1999, Methods of Mayhem was Lee's foray into rap, metal, and a significant departure from Motley Crue's glam metal sound. Their self-titled debut album, which was released the same year, mixed hard rock, hip-hop, and electronic elements, and showed how diverse Lee's musical interests were. The lead single, Get Naked, turned heads with its provocative lyrics and high-energy vibe, and the album also featured collaborations with big names like Fred Durst, Lil' Kim, and Kid Rock, further showing Lee's knack for blending different musical genres. But by the time the album dropped in 1999, Lee had already parted ways with Motley Crue, and his public feud with singer Vince Neil and the internal conflicts within the band drove him to seek a fresh creative outlet. And while Methods of Mayhem was a bold venture, it did not quite take off commercially and peaked at just no. 71 on the Billboard 200. Poor album sales led to underwhelming tour ticket sales and prompted Lee to turn back once more. In 2002, Lee tried his hand at a solo career with the release of Never a Dull Moment, which was a mix of electronica and rap metal. 2 years later, he briefly reunited with Motley Crue for the double-disc album Red, White Crue, and published his autobiography, Tomyland. His second solo album, Tomyland, The Ride, came out in 2005 and was played as a soundtrack to his autobiography. The album featured singles like Tryin' to Be Me and Good Times, which later became the theme for his reality TV series Tommy Lee Goes to College. Lee's versatility did not stop at rock and rap metal, and he also recorded drum tracks for Jax Mannequin's album Everything in Transit and developed a keen interest in electronic music. This new passion led him to become a DJ and made him perform under the moniker DJ Arrow. His DJ sets often included a mix of house, techno, and dubstep, which again showed how much he loved electronic dance music. He even collaborated with renowned DJ and producer Deadmau5 on the track Aural Spinepstace and proved his place in the electronic music scene. Throughout his solo career, Lee continued to collaborate with a variety of artists across different genres and contributed drum tracks to albums by Rob Zombie and Smashing Pumpkins along with others. His experimental nature and diverse musical projects were the main things that earned him respect in the industry. TV appearances. Tommy Lee's charisma and larger-than-life personality made him a natural fit for television, and so in 2004, he starred in the NBC reality show Tommy Lee Goes to College, where he played a kind of confused student who was navigating his university life. Lee also co-produced the show and even added his personal touch to the project. In 2008, Lee teamed up with rapper Ludacris for another reality TV venture on Planet Green titled Battle Girth. The show focused on environmental challenges and solutions and blended entertainment with a green message. Lee's TV appearances didn't stop there, and in 2019, he guest starred as Professor Lee on Season 7, Episode 14 of The Goldbergs, and brought his rock star flair to the sitcom. In October 2020, he took on the role of the devil in Halloween in Hell, which is a fictionalized musical horror podcast series featuring artists like Ian Dior, 24K Golden, Dana Dentata, Thiem, and Machine Gun Kelly. Most recently in 2022, Lee also appeared in the action horror thriller The Retaliators as a strip club DJ and added another interesting role to his eclectic career. Controversies surrounding Lee. Tommy Lee has always been a magnet for scandal-hungry tabloids and has lived a life where drugs, decadence, and deprol seem to be the norm. Known for his drumming skills and admired by many angst-ridden teens, Lee has often made headlines for his wild behavior both on and off stage. Despite his undeniable talent, he became infamous for his countless run-ins with the paparazzi and numerous public controversies with his life being a non-stop roller coaster of highs and lows, filled with more drugs, alcohol, and encounters with hookers and porn stars than most can imagine. It often seemed like a black cloud was constantly hanging over him, leading to one public indignity after another. Here's a look at 10 of the most notable controversies Tommy Lee has been involved in over the years. Motley Crue days controversies. When it comes to wild rock and roll stories, Motley Crue is the band that always comes to mind. During their early years, the band's rampant drug and alcohol abuse became the stuff of legend as Tommy Lee, along with his bandmates, indulged heavily in various substances and made excessive partying a hallmark of their lifestyle. Nikki Sixx's heroin addiction was particularly severe and almost led to his death with a near-fatal overdose in 1987. Motley Crue earned a notorious reputation for their destructive behavior, especially in hotels, and one of their most infamous antics took place at the Sheraton Hotel in New York City, where they reportedly caused tens of thousands of dollars in damage by trashing rooms and throwing furniture out of windows. Their behavior was so outrageous that some hotels outright refused to book them, while others demanded hefty deposits to cover potential damages. The band's internal conflicts also often spilled into the public eye, with frequent arguments and even physical altercations among members, and their controversial relationships were part and parcel of their sex, drugs, and rock and roll ethos. Offstage, their numerous sexual activities, wild parties, and scandalous behavior kept them constantly in the headlines, and stories of group eyes and indecencies were a staple of Motley Crue's public identity. Tommy Lee's love for partying also led to numerous arrests for public drunkenness and disorderly conduct, and though these incidents were often minor, they contributed to his reputation as a wild and uncontrollable rock star. Each arrest only reinforced the public perception of Lee as someone who was frequently on the wrong side of the law due to his lifestyle choices. But it was not just Lee, but the rest of Motley Crue also, who faced their fair share of controversies over the years. The band was even accused of using satanic content in their music, and Vince Neil once addressed these accusations in an interview with Loudwire's John Wiederhorn, saying, "Some people said we were satanic and angry. We always thought that was funny, but we were like, hey, if it gets us attention, let's go with that. And we were so starved for stardom that we were willing to do whatever it took. But there was no anger at all. We were just having fun." So Motley Crue's antics did not just stop at partying and destructive behavior, but their rock star lifestyle was a constant source of media fodder and made them one of the most talked about bands of their time. And whether it was Six's infamous overdose or Lee's run-ins with the law, the band lived their lives on the edge, embodying the true spirit of rock and roll excess. Tommy Lee versus Vince Neil, the dynamic duo of Motley Crue, have had one of the most complex feuds in rock history, and while their chemistry on stage was nothing short of electric, off stage, it was a different story. The mid-2000s were especially turbulent for the two, with tensions reaching a boiling point during their 2005 reunion tour. The 2005 tour was supposed to be a celebration of Motley Crue's legacy, but behind the scenes, things were anything but celebratory, as creative differences and personal issues often led to heated arguments. One of the most infamous incidents occurred backstage in 2005 when Vince Neil reportedly attacked Tommy Lee over comments Lee made about Neil abilities. The tension between them was palpable and spilled over into their performances and made headlines, adding to the band's notorious reputation: assault and domestic violence. Tommy Lee's life has been filled with legal controversies, and one of the most notable was involving domestic violence charges, when in 1998, Lee was arrested for assaulting his then-wife, Pamela Anderson. The incident occurred in front of their children and resulted in Lee pleading no contest to spousal abuse charges. He was sentenced to 6 months in jail and ordered to attend counseling and perform community service. This case not only highlighted the issue of domestic violence within celebrity relationships, but also significantly damaged Lee's public image, reminding him that rock star antics could have serious and harmful consequences. Tommy Lee versus Kid Rock. Another one of Tommy Lee's most publicized feuds is with musician Kid Rock, which primarily revolved around their mutual connection to Pamela Anderson. The feud reached its peak at the 2007 MTV Video Music Awards, with the altercation beginning when Lee attempted to approach Anderson during the event, which led to a confrontation with Kid Rock. So the situation quickly escalated into a physical fight, with the security intervening. The brawl made headlines worldwide, and both musicians were escorted out of the venue, and Kid Rock was blamed for misdemeanor battery. Following the incident, the feud continued to simmer, and both Lee and Kid Rock exchanged insults in the media, with Lee criticizing Kid Rock's music and persona, while Kid Rock accused Lee of being unable to move on from his past with Anderson. The lawsuits involving photographers. Tommy Lee's volatile relationship with the media, and especially paparazzi, has led to several lawsuits. In 1999, a photographer sued Lee for assault and claimed that the drummer attacked him while he was trying to take photos of him and his family. The photographer alleged that Lee's aggressive behavior caused him physical harm. While it made headlines everywhere, it had little to no effect on Lee, as these confrontations with photographers have been a recurring theme in his life. Stolen tape lawsuit. To the infamous tape scandal with Pamela Anderson also led to significant legal battles for Lee. The video of their intimate and private moments which they recorded on a vacation fell into the hands of a construction worker and was made public later, causing a big controversy throughout Hollywood. After the tape was stolen and distributed without their consent, Lee and Anderson filed a lawsuit against the distribution company, Internet Entertainment Group, and though they initially won a settlement, the tape continued to circulate, making it one of the first high-profile cases of stolen celebrity content going viral. So the scandal not only impacted Lee's personal life, but also became a significant moment in the history of celebrity culture and privacy rights, and created an uproar in Hollywood. Helicopter assault case. Tommy Lee has found himself at the center of numerous controversies, and one of the more serious ones dates back to 2003, with this particular incident involving an accusation of assault. According to a civil lawsuit filed by an unnamed woman referred to as Jane Doe, Lee allegedly assaulted her along with forcibly groping and kissing her. The incident reportedly took place on a helicopter when the woman had been invited for what she thought would be a sightseeing tour around San Diego by the pilot, David Martz. David Martz. Instead, she was informed that they would be flying with Lee to Los Angeles. So once on board, Lee allegedly invited her to the cockpit where the assault occurred, and Jane Doe claimed that both Lee and Martz were drinking alcohol and taking drugs during the flight. These accusations painted a disturbing picture of Lee's behavior and added to his already controversial reputation. Racial abuse incident. Another dark chapter in Tommy Lee's history involves an incident of racial abuse during a concert in October 1997, when Long, with his bandmate Nikki Sixx, verbally harassed and assaulted a black security guard. According to reports, it started with Sixx launching a racial tirade against the guard, and then encouraging a crowd of 2,500 fans to attack him, and Lee escalated the situation by pouring a drink on the guard's head. When charges were filed against Lee, he turned himself in to the authorities. A violent father. Tommy Lee's troubles did not end with strangers or colleagues. They extended into his family life, as well as reports have surfaced over the years about his violent tendencies toward his own children. One particularly troubling incident involved Lee dangling his son in front of a temperamental Rottweiler. Pamela Anderson has also documented these issues in court papers, and has stated that Brandon, his son, told her that Tommy hurts him and pinches him, and Dylan, his younger son, also told Pamela that he hates her for making him go to his father's. These allegations painted a grim picture of Lee's parenting and added another layer to his controversial public image: death of a child at his home. In 2001, what was supposed to be a joyous occasion turned into a tragic event. So Lee threw a birthday party for his son Brandon's 5th birthday at his Malibu estate, but unfortunately, the celebration took a devastating turn when a 4-year-old guest, Daniel Carvin Veers, drowned in the pool. Daniel was the son of actress Ursula Carvin and television producer James Verries, who later sued Lee for wrongful death and argued that he had been negligent by not having a lifeguard on duty and by failing to ensure that someone was available to perform CPR. During the trial, Lee testified that every child at the party had arrived with a babysitter or parent to supervise them, and so in 2003, Lee was cleared of negligence, but the incident left a lasting mark on him. He expressed deep sorrow over the boy's death, but it was yet another tragic accident that added another layer of complexity to his already upward love life. Tommy Lee is known for his wild lifestyle and rock star persona, which has always made his relationships a hot topic for the media. Before Tommy Lee hit it big with Motley Crue, he had a few relationships that flew under the radar. But once he skyrocketed to fame in the 1980s, his personal life became a public spectacle and often overshadowed his musical achievements. Here's a closer look at Tommy Lee's love life and his dating and marriage history. Elaine Starchuk. Tommy Lee's first significant relationship was with Elaine Starchuk, who was a model and dancer. They tied the knot in 1984, but their marriage was short-lived and ended up divorcing just a year later in 1985 due to their relationship being filled with chaos and excess that came with the early days of Motley Crue's success. Heather Locklear. In 1986, Tommy married actress Heather Locklear, who was famous for her roles in TV series like Dynasty and Melrose Place. They met backstage at an Rio Speedwagon concert, and their relationship quickly became one of the most high-profile pairings of the 1980s, with the couple being often seen together at glamorous events and becoming a tabloid staple. Despite their seemingly perfect romance, their marriage ended in divorce in 1993, and Heather later cited Tommy's wild lifestyle and infidelity as reasons for their split. Their relationship, with all its ups and downs, was later shown in the Motley Crue biographical film, The Dirt, which was released in March 2019 on Netflix. Pamela Anderson. So perhaps Tommy Lee's most famous relationship was with actress and model Pamela Anderson. They met on New Year's Eve in 1994 and married just 4 days later on February 19, 1995, in a beach ceremony in Cancun, Mexico, where Pamela wore a white bikini and Tommy sported swim trunks, and their whirlwind romance and impromptu wedding became the epitome of rock and roll glamour. Tommy and Pamela had 2 sons together, Brandon Thomas Lee in 1996 and Dylan Jagger Lee in 1997. Their relationship was a roller coaster filled with legal battles, custody disputes, and reached its peak when in 1995 their private tape was stolen and distributed, becoming one of the first major celebrity tape scandals. The couple fought to stop the release, but the courts ruled against them and led to a settlement. In late 1996, Pamela filed for divorce, alleging that Tommy had physically abused her, and she had been keeping a log of his abusive behavior, including an incident where he allegedly pointed a loaded shotgun at her. Tommy reportedly tried to win her back with grand gestures, but his violent tendencies resurfaced, and in 1998, he was arrested after Pamela called 911 and accused him of kicking her while she was holding their 2-month-old son. Tommy pleaded no contest to spousal abuse charges and spent 6 months in jail. And even after multiple reconciliations, their relationship remained tumultuous, and they eventually divorced for good. Other relationships. Even after his final split from Pamela Anderson, Tommy Lee continued to date high-profile women and maintained his rock star reputation. Maique Garcia. From 2001 to 2003, Tommy dated Good Marsha, who was a dancer and the former wife of musician Prince, but their relationship was relatively low-key compared to his previous romances. Pink. Tommy was briefly linked to pop singer Pink, Alicia Moore, in the early 2000s, and although their relationship was short-lived, it generated a lot of media buzz due to the high profiles of both individuals. Sophia Tuffa. In the late 2000s, Tommy began dating Sophia Tuffa, who was a singer and dancer. The couple got engaged in 2014, but never made it down the aisle and eventually parted ways. Brittany Furlan. In 2017, Tommy started dating internet personality and former Vine star Brittany Furlan, and their relationship quickly became serious, and they announced their engagement on Valentine's Day in 2018. Tommy and Brittany married on February 14th, 2019, exactly 1 year after their engagement announcement, and are still married and often share their life together on social media, giving fans a glimpse into a more settled and domestic side of the rock star. Lee's relationship with his son Brandon. Tommy Lee's relationship with his two sons, Brandon Thomas Lee and Dylan Jagger Lee, has been a roller coaster and has often made headlines due to its ups and downs, but among the two, Brandon, the older son, has been in the spotlight more frequently due to his strained relationship with his dad. Growing up, Brandon and Dylan had a tough time largely because of their parents' tumultuous relationship. Tommy and Pamela Anderson's on and off romance often overshadowed their parenting duties and Tommy's frequent run-ins with the law, and his extended absences meant he was not around much. After Tommy and Pamela split, Pamela had full custody and the kids saw Tommy even less. To put it bluntly, Tommy was too caught up in his own chaos to be a consistent presence in his children's lives. One of the most talked about incidents happened in March 2018 when Tommy and Brandon had a physical altercation that led to a criminal investigation. It all kicked off when Tommy made some negative comments about Pamela on social media, which really upset Brandon, and things escalated quickly, and Tommy ended up getting knocked unconscious. Brandon faced a police investigation, though no charges were filed. Brandon later said that his dad's alcoholism was at the root of their fight, and that he tried to stage an intervention, but it did not go as planned. Brandon expressed the hope that his dad would get sober and stay healthy, and even said he was ready to work with law enforcement to address the situation. Tommy, on the other hand, denied that alcohol was a factor in the altercation and claimed that Brandon attacked him out of the blue and that all he wanted was an apology from his son. Tommy was hurt by what he saw as Brandon's lies about the incident. The rift between them is not new and has been simmering for years, likely fueled by Tommy's career demands, which kept him away from home. Despite attempts to mend things as Brandon got older, conflicts happened all the time, especially around Tommy's relationships and his ongoing drama with Pamela. The drama did not stop with their physical fight, and on Father's Day 2018, Brandon took to social media to publicly criticize Tommy and to challenge his dad's claims about being a good parent and accusing him of missing out on important moments in his life. Despite all the drama, there have been efforts to patch things up, and both Tommy and Brandon have talked about their love for each other and their desire to fix their relationship in various interviews. But given their history, it's hard to say how genuine those sentiments are. Tommy Lee, recent and current activities. Tommy Lee is still rocking hard and staying busy in the world of music. In 2022, he hit the road with a star-studded tour alongside Def Leppard, Poison, Joan, the Blackhearts, and it has been a blast for fans to see these legendary bands sharing the stage. When he is not out on tour with Motley Crue, Tommy's been working on solo projects and dropped an album called Andro in October 2020, and has been keeping busy promoting it through various live performances and social media. It's clear that he's still passionate about making music. Tommy's also been pretty vocal about social and political issues, and has been a long-time advocate for animal rights, and has supported PETA for years, and uses his platform to speak out against animal cruelty, showing that he is committed to causes he believes in. Looking ahead to 2024, Tommy Lee is rumored to be working on new music, both on his own and possibly with Motley Crue. He is also staying active on social media, engaging with fans, and there is talk of him diving into new media projects. While specifics are still under wraps, it sounds like he has got some exciting things in the pipeline. Tommy's career is still going strong, and he is balancing touring, solo music, and new media ventures. On the personal side, he seems to be in a good place too, thanks to his marriage to Brittany Ferland, and the couple's relationship also appears to be stable.